Today on Cherry Picking, we take my 66 wagon on an 800-mile road trip through the Arizona desert. Will it make it? Oh, and we fix other stuff. Still no AC though. It's hot. That's right, today we take my 66 wagon I call Stray Cat on a road trip. And we fix some other stuff. We put a stereo in this thing, do some weather seals, add some gauges to it, grease a bunch of stuff like my drive shaft, which is needed. But we take this thing on a 800+ mile road trip. And I will say, this is post-road trip Aaron talking to you. And well, this was intended to be a two-part video, but I realized that I didn't have a lot of footage from prepping and didn't have a ton of footage from the road trip overall. So, you get one video. That's real nice, huh? Anyways, let's get into it. Let's make this guy the road trip killer that she is. Or he is. I still don't know. Right. That's right. Welcome back to Cherry Picking. Today, we're working on my 66 country sedan wagon that I call Stray Cat. Now, in the last video you saw of this thing, we went ahead and did the entire disc brake swap on this wagon, and I'm saying this from the past, so I hope it went out well, and I hope it works. Because as of right this moment, this car still hasn't been aligned, so I haven't been able to test it, but by the time you see that video, it'll be done. You'll already, what am I saying? You already saw it. Anyways, today, we are working on a handful of projects, and I'm actually going to start with one of them being greasing the ball joints everywhere and tie rod ends and everything I haven't done yet, even though that was probably supposed to be done during the disc brake video. I'm going to do it now, and we're just going to assume that I did that in the disc brake video, but really I'm doing it now. So, tricked you. Anyways, and then after that, we're going to just try to hop on a bunch of little things. I got some weather strip I want to put on. I've got a stereo I want to put in because that's important. And then we've also got some gauges that I really need to put in. Again, something I've been meaning to do, that I meant to do when I got this thing running for Power Tour 23, but just haven't done yet. So, yeah, pretty much drive shaft, gauges, stereo, maybe some weather strip, we'll see. But let's get into it. Now, probably haven't explained anything super well yet, but basically, the goal of today's video is to prep this thing for a road trip, because I'm actually going to be taking it on a 700 plus, give or take, mile road trip, round trip, to my nephew Parker's house out in Arizona. This is his favorite car of mine because he helped me work on it. And so I thought for Memorial Day weekend, I'd go ahead and take this thing out there for him, and we work on it together. And also, that's what this car was built for. That's what I want to use it for, is road tripping. So we're going to finally do that. Farthest I've ever driven it currently is probably still Power Tour 23. That was about 500 miles. Probably closer to 600 if you really narrow it down through all the back roads. But basically about 600 miles is the farthest I've taken this thing. And that was over the course of 3 days, you know, and relatively close vicinity to my area. The farthest out we went was Vegas. So this will be a new experience. But I'm going to go ahead and take these wheels back off that I put on because I need to grease the front end. And then we'll grease the drive shaft, and that's kind of the big important stuff. I did want to go ahead and change the transmission before I left, but that's not going to happen. So you're going to see a trans swap on this thing probably the week after this video, if not at some point. So keep an eye out for that, because we are going to put a C6 in this thing. But not going to get to it before then, so we're just going to do what we can to make sure this one works and that we make it there good. Get this guy off. Now, unfortunately, one of the most horrific things that I have to deal with is the fact that my Magnum 500s and my new center caps won't fit on the front brakes. They didn't on my drum brakes, and now they won't on these brakes either. So, unfortunately, I've got to run these Cal Custom Chrome dust caps in order to appear like I have a center cap, but in reality, I don't. So I will unfortunately either have to run a spacer, a wheel spacer, because it's just that close, like 1/4 inch or so. Or I will have to get a different style cap that basically is spring loaded and attaches from the front rather than the screw on from the back. Whatever, you don't care, but I do, because it's sad having 2 on the back and none on the front. Anyways, let's grease up all these joints and get moving. Now, the art of greasing is, well, relatively simple, but what makes it complicated and annoying for most people are the tools involved in it. I've got this little tiny 3-ounce grease gun that I've been using. I used it to do my Mustang, and, well, the grease gets everywhere, but pretty much you just fill it up, and you just sit here and fill it up until you can start see it bulging out of, well, I start to see it bulge out of the actual ball joint boot, and unfortunately this thing's already out of grease, so I'm gonna have to fill it up with grease, but you get the idea, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and do this to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different ones on the front end here. So I'll catch back up with you when we're taking the drive shaft out. All right, well, I actually may get lucky on this one. Not all my vehicles are this easy, but I might actually be able to, see if you can see in there, get on the Zerk fitting without taking the drive shaft out on both ends. So I'm going to try to sneak in there. It's going to be a little tight, but I'm going to see if I can get it in there and then grease it, and I don't even have to take the drive shaft out. So let's do that. Let's see how bad this is. Actually, turn it over a little bit. Let's see. Can I get on there? I have to loosen that. Problem is, getting on there is not really the hard part. It's tightening up this guy that's the hard part. But looks like we're going to be able to do this. So let's get this tight. Let's see if this works. Ah, I see grease. Let's turn it over a little bit. Oh wow. I don't know if you guys can see that. There is quite a bit of movement in my drive shaft on this trans. I hope that's nothing unusual. But we'll get the backside done, which looks the same as this one. And then we don't even have to take our drive shaft out. How neat is that? Rub some of that on there, get off my fingers. Call that lubrication, rust prevention. And the rest of everything else under here looks pretty good, so let's move to the back. Real tight. And now my hands are covered in grease. This is way easier than taking the drive shaft off, though. Again, it's only 4 bolts, but if something were to happen to take them out, that would be a nightmare. Oh yeah, there we go. Drive shaft greased. All right, so now that the drive shaft and all the front end is greased, let's move on to some more important stuff for me, which is gauges and window seals and a stereo. That's the most important. Gotta have tunes. Okay, well, we're working on the wagon, and there's 3 things that I deem most important when preparing for this road trip, and I'll show you those. So let's get into it. The first most important thing to me is gauges, which I have here, and I've got them done. I've got a volt gauge and a vacuum gauge. That's really all I need, because my oil pressure and water temp idiot lights all work. So if I have an issue, I'll know by all the lights, but I'll know if I'm not charging with this volt gauge or if I have a vacuum issue with my vacuum gauge. This is a stock Ford big truck vacuum gauge, and this is just a Mallory gauge. It's just ones I had, and I threw it on this little pot I had, and it works, and I can see it because it's right out of my line of sight. So that's the first thing that I deem most important. Let's move on to the second. The second most important thing to me is, weather strip. That's right, weather strip. And by weather strip, I kind of just mean the window weather strip on the front windows right here, the division bar weather strip, as well as the weather strip that holds the window seals in. I actually ended up doing these yesterday off camera. They were not too bad, but I basically had to take door panel off and feed them through. I bought weather strip that was strictly for the division bar on these wagons, and I used the rest of it all through here. And no, it is not correct. It is slightly a different size. It's a different thickness. It doesn't stick out as far. However, it does work. And now my driver's and passenger's window are somewhat air sealed from the outside, so they'll be a lot quieter than it was before. That's the second thing that I find important. Now, the very last thing that I think is actually the most important for me is a stereo system. Now, that may not be what other people put at the top of their list, but it's at the top of mine because, well, I want to listen to tunes and I'm tired of using a little tiny speaker. So I have a Bluetooth amplifier that I've put in my Mustang and my truck, and I love them. They're great. They're small, they hide, and I'll show you that when we get to it. But I've run into a minute issue. It's not a huge deal, but something I have to deal with, so let me show you. Now, this car, at some point in its life, had a speaker added right here behind the back seat and kind of in the location of the factory stereo speaker. As you can see, it looks like it was cut by a 2-year-old, and the speaker that was in here was actually a 6x9 on the back side. The hole opening they cut is not 6x9. That's what all these holes, you can actually see where the outline of the 6x9 was. So they just cut it really small, which, you know, just great for sound quality. And no big deal, I was just gonna go ahead and put another 6x9 in here, and because, well, modern stereos are much better, I was gonna go ahead and do it on this side and match it. Only the way that Ford designed these wagons, this is the entire wheel well. If you look in here, you can see the wheel well inside there, and there's a huge cavity. On this side, there isn't. This is just the wheel well. This is how they did it. So if I cut a hole in behind this, I am literally just cutting into my wheel well to put a speaker in. So I've got a dilemma. I've got 2 speakers up the front I'm gonna run on my console, and I'll show you that when we get to it. But for now, I guess I'm just gonna be running one 6x9 back here and making this hole bigger. And the other one, I'm either gonna make a little box and just throw it back here and it'll sit in a little wooden box or something, or I will just run it 3-channel. I don't know, but that's the fun dilemmas we get to work with when working on old cars. It's not ideal because I really wanted to have some equal symmetrical speakers. Guess not, so anyways, let's get a stereo in. All right, it's the next morning. I kind of fought with it for quite a while yesterday, but let me show you what we got here. Just get in this guy. Went ahead and got our side panels on here, and they are screwed on behind the trim over here and down there. And we got our trim on, and this is what we got going on. I ended up using some 4x6s because they fit better. The 6.5s would basically go to where this trim is, and I wanted to keep the trim, so 4x6s, a little bit smaller, no big deal. It ended up working out because the old radio slot was the perfect size to just throw this in there. Now, keep in mind, this is temporary. It needs to get done up. All of this is going to be gone. This is going to be cup holders eventually. Like, the whole thing of this is all going to have carpet. It's going to go up to the dash. It's going to look a little bit more finished. This is just temporary so that we can have something. I'm getting speaker covers for these so that they look better. And it all seems to look pretty good. So there you go. If you want to do a 65 console in your Galaxy, this one's just sitting in there. I do wish it was about 1 inch taller here so that you could rest your arm the same height as the door armrests. But anyways, our little, you can't even really see it, but our amplifier is just sitting down there. It's not even bolted down or not even Velcroed to the carpet or anything. It's literally just sitting there, but it can't move very much. Those are pretty plug and play. It's basically just power wire, ground wire, signal wire, and then speaker wires. And the signal wire just needs to be off of a keyed accessory switch, which I connected mine to my fuse block. You may or may not be able to see it up there. Actually, yeah, that blue wire that's hanging out. Well, it's up there. Anyways, and as for our rear speaker, unfortunately, I was only able to get one speaker in there. Let's see if it'll focus. As you can see in there, it's just a kicker 6x9. I did have to widen the hole a little bit, and only one side fit. Honestly, I will say that I'm surprised because just with the 1 6x9 and the 2 4x6s, honestly, it's way more than enough sound. I will say it's not as rich of a sound. It's definitely more of the high tones and the almost like a tinny noise. And part of that is just from the fact that my wagon needs more insulation, some kill mat everywhere, but also just due to the fact that I don't have any good bass speakers. So I eventually plan to run an under seat sub somewhere, hidden away of course, and then hopefully eventually I can put another 6x9 in. But for now, I can't get above half volume. It's more than enough, so let's keep going. That's right, today is the day we are going on an 800+ mile round trip road trip in my 66 Ford country sedan wagon. It's a mouthful, but we're doing it. We're going on a 800 mile, actually more than 800 mile road trip, but it's about 400+ miles there and 400+ miles back, plus driving in between for the whole weekend. I'm going out there to visit some family. My wife and I are going. We're gonna see if this guy makes it. That's pretty much the goal of this. I've prepared this as best I can. I've checked all the fluids. I've got bikes on the back, and I think we're pretty much ready to go. If you've been paying attention the past, I don't know, week, 2 weeks, we put disc brakes on this thing, we put a stereo in it and put some window weather stripping, and the wind is picking up. But we're ready, I think. I mean, actually not ready, because we're not leaving till about 8 o'clock tonight. So we're gonna be driving through the night, which is nice because it's supposed to be 101 degrees tomorrow. I do have a makeshift swamp cooler because my AC, of course, isn't working yet. But we're gonna drive in through the night and, well, we'll see if we make it. And I'll take you along for any adventures, and, well, it should be interesting. But go ahead and get ready, because first thing is gonna be complete darkness. And then after that, we'll see where we go. So thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to let me know down in the comments, like the video. But let's see if this guy can make it. So let's get into it. Okay, we're in the car and packed up. It's dark outside, so it's pretty much just going to be a long drive from here, 400+ miles, which is the longest thing this thing's ever driven in one single stretch. We have gone pretty far distances with it before. It went on Power Tour 23, which it was only running for 2 weeks when it went on that, so that was about 600 miles total, so should do pretty good. Start her up. Let's turn our lights on. Oh, not the copyright music. All right, and we've got gauges. We are charging, although it needs to charge better. And I've got most of my lights, so I'd call that good enough. We have headlights, so let's go. It's been a few days and spent some time here with family, and now we're headed back, and this time we're leaving in the daylight. I did have my headlight go out quite a bit before on the way here in darkness, but fixed that, so we should be good. Let's go. And we're back, and it's the next morning, and the wagon made it. And really, it made it with little to no issues. It made it home, and I've actually got to unpack it now, but I thought I'd give you guys a little bit update of how it went. And, well, went there on Thursday evening and came back Monday evening. And really, the only issues I had were it was a little hot, and the first day we were there, the highest temp we saw was about 105, and there were some issues that I'll show you with that. But never really overheated in this thing, and only actually technically got hot once, maybe twice if you count the first day. But on the way back, we did get warm, and I found that this thing doesn't love to cruise at 80 for 3 hours straight in 85-degree air temps. So that was a little fun. It gets a little bit hot. If you just slow it down just a few, like 70, 75, hot light goes off. But the good news is my hot light works, so my cold and my hot light do work, and I don't need a temperature gauge because it does let me know, so that's cool. But got warm once, stopped off to the side, cooled it for a minute or two, and then just had to take it a little bit slower for the rest of the way out. It was about 6 hours total, just over 6 hours last night, a little bit less than 6 hours when going out there. And the only major problem we had was my headlight switch was going out. I hadn't done anything to it when I pulled this car out. I hadn't replaced it. I hadn't done anything to it, and so I went ahead. I was able to get one in while I was out there, no big deal. And I actually have the extra one. I went and cleaned it up so that I have a spare, because it does still work. It was just a little finicky, and when it got hot, it would go in and out. But that's one of the big things I need to do this car in the future is headlights and headlight relays to take all that load off the headlight switch, because, well, that's what happens in these old Fords. They just get real hot. But let's do a quick little show around of some of the things that happened so that you can see what the issues were, and we'll end off the video. From the outside, no major things, no major concerns. I took a lot of bugs, so stopped a few times to clean the windshield because I hit like a swarm of bees somewhere out in Ehrenberg, Arizona. But I emptied out most of it last night. Bikes did fine on the bike rack, which was perfect. This was the biggest worry I had. Realistically, the only thing is, I don't know if you can tell, but they're all glittery now and covered in oil because this thing does spit out oil fumes. So I will have to clean these guys up before putting them away, but that's not something I wasn't aware of. But if we come under the engine bay, lift this guy up. As you can see in here, we actually have a little bit of a color change, if you can see that. So I actually was spitting out, this is all coolant that cooked basically on the front of the head, because I do have a very, very, very small crack right there on my radiator that I actually did know about. I did mean to fix it before I went, but it ran okay, and I was pretty tight on time. Actually, we can see how much coolant we lost, and there's still some in there, so not too much. You probably can't see, but it's only an inch and a half below the top. I did fill it up at one point, and it's a little bit low in the tank, not too much, but that's pretty much the only thing that I actually had issues with. Is it got a little bit warm. I did lose a little bit of power steering fluid and had to fill that up a little bit, but not much. Same with oil. I only lost, I would say I lost 2 quarts throughout the whole 800 plus mile trip. And then the biggest thing we lost was trans fluid more than anything else. Basically went through about 4 quarts. This thing just eats it up. The transmission leaks so badly. When I was down there greasing the drive shaft in preparation for the trip, I could tell the wiggle on the output shaft of the transmission was noticeable, and it was pretty much just nothing there as for the seal, and it leaks everywhere. Dipstick, pan, output shaft seal, shift shaft seal like crazy. So I lost about 4 quarts total in the 800 miles, and actually I probably more because it needs more now, so I haven't filled it up, but did great, and no major issues, so can't complain. So anyways, that was my road trip, my 800 plus mile road trip in my 66 Ford station wagon. Hope you enjoyed, hope you liked this video. If you did, leave me a like, comment, subscribe even if you want to see more content like this. This thing is getting a lot of updates in the next few weeks. We're doing the trans swap because that's definitely the big one. We're going to be putting AC in it for sure, and then a bunch of other little stuff like dash and weather strip and all that. So stay tuned, and well, we'll see you next time.